It's a great pleasure to welcome you all here back to the Foreign Office. It's a pleasure also to welcome myself back to the Foreign Office. I gave my last speech as Foreign Secretary in this spot, actually, to the Foreign Office staff on the 15th of July. But it's great to see all of you here, and I particularly want to thank everybody at FIRST because you've been such strong supporters throughout the time I was here in the Foreign Office, highlighting in particular the work that we have done in recent years to transform, to revitalize our relationships with some of the fastest growing and emerging economies in the world. Some of them are here. I've seen some of their ambassadors already tonight, and over the last 4 years we've opened new embassies, as you know, in Latin America, in Asia, in Africa. We've sent more staff to 22 of our embassies in high-growth markets. We've reopened the Foreign Office Language School here in this building so that we train more of our diplomats in hard languages, and many other important steps that increase the support we're able to offer to British businesses. And FIRST was an enthusiastic proponent of these changes and did much to advertise them, including 3 years ago through a volume of my own speeches, which, if you ever want to know about our policies but also find a cure for insomnia at the same time, this is the perfect thing for the task. But I thank everyone at FIRST for their enthusiasm for this. The theme of tonight's awards, Responsible Capitalism, contains an important message about how we conduct ourselves as the United Kingdom towards the rest of the world. Being a leading nation in the world in so many different ways, we have a responsibility towards the rest of the world. That responsibility is not an add-on to our foreign policy, it is essential to it and indeed inseparable from it. And this is partly a reflection of our character as a nation, our restless conscience as a nation, which means we feel a sense of connection with the people of many other nations and a desire to help those affected by conflict or poverty or human rights abuses. But it's also because what is good for the whole world is good for Britain as well. We prosper and we are safe and secure when other nations thrive, and violence or insecurity in any part of the world affects us. And that's why a passionate commitment to international development, to human rights in so many ways, including global causes like the prevention of sexual violence in conflict, which I led as Foreign Secretary and continue to work on, is built into every aspect of our engagement with the world, into the work of DFID, our defense engagement overseas, and the daily work of our diplomats. And what is true of our country as a whole is, of course, true for business in this country and in our partner countries as well. A strong commitment to development, to social reform, to green growth and action against climate change is all good for British business. As our companies increasingly compete in emerging markets all over the world, it's in the interests of business that the rule of law is strong in those countries. There are, of course, threats to that. Corruption is a cancer eating away at sustainable development, economic reform, and even political stability in some nations. And we have to fight it whenever we encounter it and never succumb to it, not only for moral and reputational reasons, but because the long-term implications are so corrosive and so harmful to trade. But there's also a huge opportunity for Britain in this, since we do try to lead the world in so many ways and join with other countries represented here in leading the world, in setting standards for the rule of law, for good business practice, for that responsible capitalism that we celebrate tonight. It is part of our soft power together. It's part of our influence as nations that we have such standards and that we have companies across the world that want to do business with us and in many cases to be based in the United Kingdom. So responsible capitalism is not a burden or a restriction, it is an opportunity and part of our competitive edge as nations. It should remain a hallmark of our country and the other countries represented here and our business community long into the future. And in that spirit, it is a great pleasure to be here tonight to lend support to this event and to present the awards to this year's worthy winners. Thank you very much indeed.